Spearfish man was sentenced today in court for the drug overdose death of another man in June of last year. Last month, 41-year-old Dan Snyder pleaded guilty to distribution of a controlled substance resulting in death and ingestion of a controlled substance. According to court documents, a witness said last June in Lawrence County, Snyder bought the heroin laced with fentanyl to kill himself and provided it to the victim. Snyder is sentenced to 12 years in state prison for distribution of a controlled substance resulting in death. He was also sentenced to 2 years in state prison for ingestion of a controlled substance, 7 years for aggravated assault, and 2 years for simple assault against a public officer. During the sentencing, Snyder said he felt horrible and wished it was him that died that day and not the victim.